Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. We're coming to you live from the Singapore Fintech Festival, and joining me for the segment we have Ari Sarker. He's the President of Asia Pacific at Mastercard. We're going to talk about navigating the winds of change that we're seeing in digital finance. Ari, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thank you, Jill. Delighted to be here.
And those winds of change in digital finance really travel quick. Let's talk about the current state of play. What is Mastercard seeing in terms of the macroeconomic landscape?
Well, Jill, I think Asia is rebounding really well after 2 years of COVID. I think what we're seeing is just where parts of Asia that have already opened up, strong domestic demand, consumer spending is coming back. You could argue this is revenge spending that we've seen for a good part of this year, and that has also led to a surge in cross-border travel in corridors that have actually opened up. To give you some statistics, we are seeing that there has been a significant shift as far as digital commerce or e-commerce is concerned. We are tracking about 180% of 2019 levels. And if you think about cross-border travel, we're roughly about the 2019 levels, keeping in mind that North Asia, which is China is a very significant part,
right,
has not opened up yet. So that bodes well for overall travel momentum in the region. And as far as inbound is concerned, and just as you have traveled in from New York, we are at about a 75% at the end of third quarter in terms of our 2019 levels of inbound travel. So I think these are all great signs. We think there's positive momentum, consumer spending remains high, inflation is a concern. I won't argue that it isn't, but nothing in Asia that we're seeing that it's not manageable in the near term, and there is enough resilience in most of the economies. You've got to also keep in mind that we didn't have the type of fiscal overspend that Western Europe and the US has had, and therefore there was some rationality to begin with, and therefore we are not seeing the type of runaway inflation that many of the European countries are seeing at the current time.
It's interesting, where I'm staying in Singapore, it's a big shopping district.
Yes.
A lot of malls, 6, 7 levels, and they are packed with young shoppers, and they are buying multiple bags. So to your point, consumer spend has been incredibly resilient. Let's talk about business resiliency though. How can the digital financial sector continue to navigate what might be choppy waters, but also make it more efficient, more open, more inclusive?
Well, I think the overall business spend, if you look at capital expenditure cycles in many of the large emerging markets are starting to kick in. If you look at India's had a very strong quarter as far as credit growth is concerned, one of the strongest in the last 5 years. And that also has embedded in what we call capital investment cycle in the private sector starting to happen as well. Lending continues to be positive just across the board in ASEAN. So my sense is you do have a little bit of what I call the small business sector, which is a little more stressed. Large enterprises are in better shape. Balance sheets are reasonably clean. I think the real opportunity, Jill, in the coming decade is going to be using the power of data and using digital technology, improving flow of credit to small businesses, the agri sector, and if we can do that, I think there's at least 100 to 200 bips of overall GDP growth that could be unlocked in most of the markets across Asia Pacific. Let's
talk about inclusive growth and bridging that digital divide, because part of the narrative with the fintech community and with digital assets is to offer accessibility and really democratize the access to financial services. It's serving billions of people. What are your thoughts around that when you think of it in terms of inclusivity?
Well, I honestly feel that we have just been probably 20% of the journey as far as inclusivity is concerned. The wave of inclusivity has been around, let's bring people into the digital economy, which is what I call get bank accounts going, get them included. However, I think we're still far away from inclusive growth. And what I mean is, when you bring somebody in the digital economy, what else do you need to put by way of building blocks that ensures that they become part of the inclusive growth story? So my view around this is, we're doing something in the agri sector. We've launched an agri platform called the Farm Pass platform, which is bringing farmers on board, which is giving them access to buyers. So it's an e-marketplace. You're able to secure better prices. And all of that data, I sincerely hope, is going to come at a level which will allow what I call flow-based lending to the agri sector and the related industries, which should become a massive multiplier for growth. So I think we need to look ahead to what we can do. I wouldn't declare victory on it as yet,
right.
but significant headroom on what technology can do to bring up the bottom of the pyramid and
right.
drive inclusive growth.
All right, Ari, we appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me throughout the day at the Singapore Fintech Festival. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.